What do you make of Deion Sanders and the circus in Boulder, Colorado? And when I say circus, that's not a criticism. Circuses are fun. I didn't say train wreck. I said circus. They're 3-0, and the circus is coming to town in Eugene, Oregon, and that should be a whole lot of fun if you love points, if you love storylines, if you love glamour surrounding college football and the hype surrounds this team and this program and this coach, unlike anything we've seen in recent times, especially for a team that still nobody or next to nobody is expecting to do anything significant this season. But did you check out the scene on Saturday night? I was hosting my show where we wrap up the day in college football each and every Saturday night after the primetime games. Not the primetime game like primetime. The primetime games, the games that kick off during the primetime, because those are the most important games typically that at least conclude the day. And then the late West Coast games don't necessarily factor into the championship drive. And of course, we don't want to be here until 5 o'clock in the morning. So we come on at about 11:30 Eastern time. Well, Colorado State were in play. And just about everybody in the chat was talking Colorado State. And they were talking about the Buffs. Forget Colorado State and forget the Rams. Even though, hey, they look like the better team for about 3.5 quarters. Excitement at Folsom Field in Colorado, and this just continues, and it's building and building and building and building, and it's kind of fun to watch. I was rooting for the Rams. I'll say it. I don't have anything against Deion Sanders. I'm not a fan. I'm not a detractor or a critic. He doesn't move the needle for me. I don't really care. He's a professed Christian, which is phenomenal. And other than that, as a football coach, again, I've got nothing for him or against him, and I root for the underdog. I just naturally root for the underdog. So regardless of what the situation was going to be there, I was going to root for Colorado State because that's just my nature as a 23-point underdog. Give me that underdog, and if they're winning the game, I'm like, yeah, let's take it home. Also, with all that energy, all that air in the building, it would have been interesting to see it deflate. But it's even ratcheted up. Now, if they would have won that game by 5 touchdowns, shoot, that team, that program, all of the fans and everybody supporting Deion Sanders would be sky high. But this it did add to the drama of the Colorado story to be down by 11 points, then to be down by 8 with the ball at the 2-yard line and having to go 98 yards to drive all the way down the field with the chippiness of what happened during the week. Jay Norvell, why he said this, I don't know. Who cares who's wearing sunglasses and who's wearing baseball hats during interviews? I don't know if he was prompted to say that, if he was asked about it, or he just came out and said that. I'm really impressed with the Colorado State Rams. Of course, they're not gaining any publicity from this. This is all about Colorado. But as a side note, Colorado State, I'm impressed. 23.5-point dog. They lost by 4 scores to Washington State. They had to go into a hostile environment. And as one of Deion's kids said, I don't remember which one, it was either Shadur or it was Shiloh. One of them I read said, man, if I had to walk into this environment with celebrities here and a raucous crowd and everything that was said this week, I would have been scared. Well, the Rams certainly weren't scared, so they stepped up. They stepped up to the challenge. That was pretty amazing to see what Colorado State did. They are probably not a good football team. They have not been a good football team in forever. They have not defeated a ranked team on the road in 17 consecutive tries, according to Pac-12 research. And they were mismatched in this game, but apparently they weren't. And they look like the better team most of the way. But then our first credit goes to Colorado State. Now we've got to credit the Buffs for closing the deal because they certainly did that. Now, I hate to see a penalty possibly decide the game. So after Colorado made that ridiculous comeback, John Elway style, for you NFL fans who remember 98 yards down the field in the AFC Championship game, the most famous 98-yard drive in the history of football. This may turn out to be the second most famous 98-yard drive now because I can't think of any others. So they pull it off. And then, of course, Colorado State scored in that second overtime to have the opportunity to get the 2-point conversion and keep this thing going. But there was a block in the back, a block below the waist that was called. And then that put Colorado State in a nearly impossible situation back near the 25-yard line, 3rd and goal, 4th and goal. And Colorado closed it off with, we understand, Lil Wayne in the house, for whatever that's worth, and Dwayne Johnson in the house, again, for whatever that's worth. We saw Pat McAfee. He took his show there. College Game Day was there. I just found out seconds ago that the big noon kickoff was there as well. So everybody descended on Boulder, Colorado. And now they've got a trip to Oregon, and they've got back-to-back games against the Ducks and USC. So that's going to be fascinating. We know that there's going to be 1 million points scored. I don't know what the over-under is. I got to check that out, because go the over, especially against USC. Go the over. If they win one of these games, especially this first one, setting up the USC game, are you kidding me, at 4-0? What Colorado has achieved, and I give all sorts of credit to Deion Sanders. He has done a remarkable job. There is no getting away around it. The most ardent detractor, critic, hater of Deion Sanders has to admit he took a 1-11 team and he transformed it into this. Now, this is not the 1-11 team. This is a completely different team. They kept like the 4 or 5 best players from that Colorado team. So they've got some contributors off that Buffs team from 2022 that won one game. They've got some significant contributors from that, but only a few. And then, of course, they piece together this other team and shoot. His 2 sons can play. There's no doubt about it. He got the 80-yard touchdown pick 6 from his one son, Shiloh. And I guess, Dion, I didn't get to see that one because we were locked in here taking your calls on Saturday night. But then, hey, we were all fixated on the fourth quarter and overtime. So I didn't see Shiloh, but he apparently donned the sunglasses after in true Dion style, because that's what the comments were about for Norvell. So the chippiness ensued the entire game and the one-upsmanship of sorts. And there were some bad penalties in this game and some rough stuff out there and some stuff after the whistle that we saw on both sides. And unfortunately, that probably proved to be Colorado State's undoing, with 15 penalties for about 180 yards in penalties. And they could not overcome that. They could not overcome the raucous crowd, the talent deficit, or the penalties, but they almost did. But the Cinderella story continues with Colorado and Deion Sanders, and now they go to Eugene, Oregon. And who's going to bet against them? They are riding high on confidence galore. So they came out game one. Nobody thought they'd beat TCU. Hardly anyone. 21-point underdog. They get that done barely. If there would have been competent quarterback play on the other side, they would have lost. But there wasn't. So they win that game, and then people thought there might be a letdown, but it was Nebraska. Colorado hates Nebraska, and if I could say anything for these Buffs players, it was pretty impressive that they actually took to that. They understood that, even though these guys have only been on campus for like 6 months max, they understood that very quickly. That got through to them, either Deion or players, coaches, fans, the alumni, whomever, pounded it into their skulls. We hate Nebraska. You got to win this game. And then, of course, the Rockets crowd, and coming home after that celebration in Fort Worth to bring that home, the letdown wasn't a factor. They were sky high for that one. Now, for them to roll it back up into this week, being a 4-score favorite, that's pretty impressive that they came off the deck. But also, the Jay Norvell comments probably did not help and got Colorado to take it personal, make it personal, which, again, is silliness to me. You're a grown man. You can slough it off. You can kind of let it go. It's only a knock on your sunglasses, Dion. It's okay. All right, everyone. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Just some random thoughts about Colorado and this fun ride that we're seeing with the Buffs. And we'll see how far it takes this team. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I'm going to go off the top of my head on this one. I know that they do have Oregon. I don't believe they've got to play Washington, who looks like a monster and possibly the best team in the Pac-12 and one of the best teams in the country. USC, they're going to have to face Utah. Are we looking at 9-3 now? Are we looking at probable losses against Oregon, USC, and somebody else, and that's it? Again, they have yet to play in the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 is playing like the best conference in college football. Should be interesting. We will make our predictions from week to week as we always do. You can get them on patreon.com/MarkRogersTV. And also, if you get a YouTube membership right here at the Voice of College Football. See you next time.